Hello and welcome to another video. This is by request. Okay, no, that's not true. It's not by request. It's by suggestion from a friend. So thank you to that person that suggested this. Top 5 books. First top 5 sci-fi fantasy books, but actually no. It's easier to choose just books in general, because there are books that I have read a few times that are not sci-fi or fantasy, and actually number one on the list is not sci-fi and it's not fantasy either. So what's that with number 5, going backwards? I don't like having to pick books out, one book in particular out from a series. I really don't. I think if a series works really well, then each book is equally as important. Do I think that Harry Potter does that? Yes, I do. I definitely do, in fact. I think a lot of people, when they talk about Harry Potter, they talk about the series in general. So I'm going to go against that for now, and I'm going to tell you what my personal favourite of the series is. And in case you hadn't guessed, it's the Half-Blood Prince. The series had already got darker. Order of the Phoenix was a bit darker, but this was the one where things ended badly. And I always thought that was such a brave move for a book that theoretically, see, I'm not saying it is, but theoretically is aimed at children. For to end on such a dark note, and I'm not spoiling it, I'm just going to say it's pretty dark, it is much more interesting as a piece of literature than the other ones. I think even the Deathly Hallows. In fact, I prefer it to the Deathly Hallows. So yeah, that's number 5. Number 4, I don't have a copy of, and number 3, I don't have a copy of, and number 2, I don't have a copy of. So we'll go to back to number 4 now. Number 4 for me would be, put it back in here, look at that. Number 4 would be, for me, Starship Troopers. Robert Heinlein is just, it's just an amazing piece of writing. You know, it's got the hard sci-fi elements built into it, and it's very much a military novel. It's not like just a hard sci-fi novel, but it's a military novel with very hard sci-fi. Hard sci-fi in the same vein that, I don't know, but hard sci-fi, and it's got robots, and everything about it builds in quite well. I think the language in it's used is about right. It's slightly different. Even the civilians use military-esque language, so you know it's a militarized society, and Heinlein's obviously taken a poke at militarizing young people through whatever means. It's totally different from the from the movie. The movie is fun. The movie's a lot of fun. I remember going to the cinema and absolutely loving it. And yes, I saw the movie before I read the book. And then I read the book and I was like, wow, what if they made a movie of this? Because the movie that was made was not Starship Troopers. The movie that was made was just something else. And it didn't matter, because actually it was a lot of fun. It's definitely one of the most fun military sci-fi movies I've seen. And, you know, it took cues more from Aliens than it did from the actual novel Starship Troopers, that's for sure. Dropping down to number 3 in my all-time list is a horror novel. And it's quite a short novel, actually. It's one of Clive Barker's shorter novels. And Sir Clive... No, I wish he was Sir. Clive Barker is one of my favourite writers of all time. I think, you know, his collected works in terms of the scope that he's written to is just incredible, really. You know, on the one hand, he's written some pretty dark, bleak, and sexualised in some cases horror. And then on the other, he's written some absolutely incredible examples of young adult fiction as well. Some of the best, I would say. Get to the point, what you're talking about. Me personally, the collected works of his short stories, the Books of Blood, volume 1, 2, and 3. That's not, sorry, no. 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and then the other book that is very hard to get hold of. Because there is a third Books of Blood, but I think it's out of print now, because I've never been able to find a copy of it. But for me, the Books of Blood, oh man, they're so good. They really, really, really are. One of the shortest stories in that, true story this, one of the shortest stories in the Books of Blood, it's called Down Satan. And I used that in my final year at university. We created a performance. We had to create a performance, a devised performance, but you're allowed to use things to base it on. And I used that and did quite well, actually. And it went down really well, and a lot of people went to see it and came out of it thinking, because it was like, didn't expect to see that. That was a bit different. I was really pleased with it, because I sort of took that approach to it, but I loved the short story to begin with. I've read it, I don't know how many times now, but a lot, and it's really, really, really potent, Down Satan. It's really good. Is it the best short story in there? I mean, I like the Midnight Meat Train. Vinnie Jones as the silent killer is great and all, but the Midnight Meat Train, the short story is just so good. The one about the possessed pig, really dark, but very fun. But it is very much, I'm not a huge fan of watching body horror, but reading it I'm alright with, and a lot of Barker stuff is to do with blood and body horror and things like that. And he's created some truly memorable, truly memorable books in his time. So moving on to number 2, and number 2 is, again, it's Clive Barker writing, because, as I said, I find him an inspiration, I really do. Clive Barker's novel Cabal. If you know me, I'll have ranted about this at some point. Cabal, and obviously Nightbreed, which I consider to be one of the best horror movies ever made, especially the special edition of it, which is just amazing. For those of you who are in Occupy Midian, good on you, well done. I was in the first 1,000, which is quite a lot in the world, really, to join Occupy Midian. Before it became like a global phenomenon, actually. And it's just such a great book, and it's so ahead of its time. Monsters as the Good Guys. Eek, what could that be? Oh my god, it's ahead of its time. 10, 20 years maybe a bit more ahead of things like Twilight and Halloween on Rice, Vampire Monsters the Good Guy. And I can honestly say that that book here, I find it an inspiration. It's so well written, so much fun. And it stays with you, and it's one of those books that I'll always have a copy of somewhere, because it's just such a well written piece of work. And finally, we have, drumroll, this. Oh wait, you can't see it. 1 second. Let me just let that sink in. Can you guess what it's about? It's mainly about, and I'll say mainly because there's so much more to it than this, but it's mainly about black metal. It's it's one of those things that you read it and you're like, nah, this can't be real. There can't really be people that were into metal that did something this crazy. That's just one example on the front cover, though. I mean, bad things happened. You know, for example, church burnings were one. Murders, unfortunately. And to me, this book covers everything. Why it could only. I mean, the most interesting one part for me, I think, in a lot of ways, was that it could only really have happened in Norway. I think that's explained. That actually, there's only one place in the whole wide world that the rise of black metal could have happened. Sure, there are black metal bands elsewhere. So if you listen to this and you oh, well, I'm into black metal and black metal comes to America, yes, you're absolutely right. Black metal couldn't have started in America, nor could it have started in Britain. It had to start in Norway, and that's what I took away from this book more than anything else. It's brilliantly written. It's very accessible. Also very difficult to tell by looking at the front cover, to be fair. But the stories it tells are so... they're almost unbelievable. If you didn't know for a fact that things that they said really happened, you wouldn't believe it. You really wouldn't. And how... let's call it an obscure musical subgenre, because it is. Plenty of people have heard of metal. Have they heard of black metal? Very unlikely. For such an obscure metal subgenre to have caused this is fascinating. But it also covers other things as well. Lords of Chaos is actually a reference to a group of American teenagers who went on a bit of a killing and destruction rampage. I don't know that they've been... I'm actually, no, that's a lie. I think one or possibly two of the members of the Lords of Chaos were actually sentenced to death because they were slightly older. I never read up on it because I didn't want to know. I kind of didn't want to know. I didn't want to feel sorry for somebody who's done murder or anything like that. And they put this in here, and for the part when I first read it, I was like, well, why is this here? What's this got to do with metal? And it's not. It's got to do with youth subculture and how easy it is to influence young people. Yeah. So that's that really. It was a bit of a makeshift video, this one, because obviously I don't have my books. I'm at my parents', so they're not all there. Excuse me. I will, when I get back, do part 2 of the GMing video, because I think I actually I'm quite pleased with that. I've watched it back. It's like, damn, that almost sounds coherent. And obviously, I'm building a Tau army as well now, so I can add that to the list of things that I need to do a video about Tau and why Tau. Because I've not done why Space Wolves and I've not done why Necrons yet. But they'll be up and coming in the next month. Why Tau, why Necrons, why Space Wolves. And the answer is not because they look cool. I mean, they do look cool because I painted them, but no kidding. But when they're ready, they will kick some tail. Oh yeah. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you again soon.